by UNESCO to report on the progress of each country or to report on the progress of the continents. So this presentation is based on the last report that I could manage to have, which is the 2013. That's the last one. The latest one is becoming. It's not yet, it's not finished. I mean, it will become maybe this month. So we need to have this monitoring the results. What has been accomplished so far? So if we go goal by goal, we'll see that between 1990 and 2011, the pre-primary education gross enrollment ratio increased from 33% to 50%, which means almost 60 million more children have been enrolled in pre-primary schools over the period. Although it reached only 80% in Sub-Saharan Africa, we still have some gaps there. But I think overall, the goal has been achieved. And as I said before, in Equatorial Guinea it has been possible to do that because of this partnership between Arab Construction, UNICEF, and other actors. Continuing with goal number 1, we have Algeria that stands out as a country with the largest expansion in pre-primary education in the Arab states, from 2% in 1990 to 75% in 2011. This was the result of a reform that introduced a pre-primary curriculum in 2014. Sorry for the mistake there. Looking ahead to 2015, it is projected that 68 countries will reach the target, including Costa Rica, Lithuania, and South Africa. Equatorial Guinea has come close to achieve the target. I show this picture because I was working with the new education and training sector strategic plan 2015-2019 in Botswana. This is April last year, where we have, this is a stakeholder conference. So we will discussing how to support pre-primary education. So that was an agreement, that was the consensus on how to do that. And so then with all stakeholders, so in principle, we now agree on what this pre-primary education will develop and financed by the state primarily. Goal number 2, the number of out-of-school children of primary school age fell from 160 million in 1990 to 68 million in 2008. Ethiopia made major advance with the number of children out of school failing by 3/4 between 1990 and 2011. The number of countries that had reached the target of a 97 of primary net enrollment rate had increased from 37 in 1990 to 61 countries in 2011. So do we have some achievement here? But we have to pay attention that number of out-of-school children remain. Yet, these 68 still remain. We need to work more to be able to move forward this picture, this figure. Egypt, I took the case of Egypt, is likewise expected to be timely in achieving universal primary education pertaining both gender. Already in 2008-2009, the net enrollment ratio for primary education reached 97. The rate of births to boys in primary education increased from 81.3% in 1990-1991 to 88 in 2000-2001 and 19.9 in 2002-2003 to 93% in 2007-2008. The projections indicate that the target will reach 100%. So you are, congratulations, you are fine. Goal number 3. We have the proposal for a framework for various pathways to skills, including foundation, transferable, and technical vocational skill as a way of improving and monitoring effort by the international community. This is still a long way from measuring the acquisition of skills systematically. We need to work more with improving this vocational education for youth and for adult people. Goal number 4, since 1990 it has been reported a fall of 12% of the illiterate adult population, but just 1% since 2000. This is a really big issue as well. Gender parity. Goal number 5. Gender parity ensuring an equal enrollment ratio of girls and boys is the first step towards the 5th EFA goal. The full goal, gender equality, demands appropriate schooling environment, practices free of discrimination, and an equal opportunity for boys and girls to realize their potential. At the primary level for 161 countries, 55.7% had achieved gender disparity in 1990. Between 1990 and 2011, the proportion of countries that had reached the target increased to 63. So there is an advance in here. Finally, the goal number 6, which is about quality of education. Some progress is reported with respect to the strengthening the quality of teachers in some countries like Ghana, Namibia, and Uganda, with support to teachers' pre-service education concentrate on building practical and realistic active learning teaching skills, promoting reflective practice, and encouraging professionalism, positive attitude, and a sense of community among teachers. I think that at the heart of this effort goal that we really need to concentrate is teachers. For me, that is the heart of all of this. And we need to have them motivated, they need to have them training, they need to have them be realizing that their own professional development to the fullest. Which is happening in Africa is, the countries that I work with, is that still there's the need to develop this level of incentive to teachers. I'm not talking about resourcing, I am talking about to make them feel them, needed in society, to recognize them as professional. Still there is a need to do that. I would also like to refer that, at the beginning I said that we need to be looking at the context to be able to see the extension of implementation. One might think that middle-income countries like Botswana, they have the resources to be able to perform better. But when you compare the international standards for maths for 6th grade children, Honduras, which is less rich than Botswana, is higher when it comes to achievement in math in comparison to Botswana. I shared this with my colleague in Botswana. They were not very happy about this because they had the resources to do better. I can tell you another case, the case of Cuba. Cuba is the only country in Latin America, so far as I know, that will fulfill all the goals. Not one, but all of them. Why? Why Cuba? I mean, it's a poor country, with several problems. But I think the success of this achievement has to do that it has kept the reform many years. The commitment has been outstanding, extensive. I mean, so that is why if you have this ongoing support and commitment to the benefit of children, then you have results. And how could that Cuba be at the level of Sweden? I mean, how can a country like Cuba, can really have these results? And other countries in Africa, rich country with resources like Angola, which I work as well, they have not yet fulfilled the goals. So we always need to really be thinking about, priorities, commitment, motivation, leadership, to be able to really enforce, our duty to ensure, good quality to all children. Key challenges. As I said before, the number of out-of-school adolescents has fallen. However, it has stagnated since 2007, leaving many young people needing access to programs to acquire foundation skills. In sub-Saharan Africa, the number of adolescents out of school remained at 22 million between 1990 and 2011 as the population grew, limited restraint enrollment grew. I see there's a great challenge in here, the out-of-school children. We really need to have them, education. We don't need children on the streets to do things, not appropriate. We really need to have them in places of shelter to define a strategy on how to handle this situation. The number of illiterate adults remains stubbornly high at 774 million. It is projected to fall to 743 million by 2015. This is really, really scary, I think. Gender disparity pattern vary between countries in different income groups. Among low-income countries, disparity are commonly at the expense of girls. 20% achieve gender parity in primary education, 10% in lower secondary education, and finally 8% in upper secondary. Looking ahead, it is projected that by 2015, 70% of countries will have reached the goal and 9% of countries will be close. By contrast, 40% of countries will still be very far, of which 3/4 are in sub-Saharan Africa. In recent studies show that a quarter to half of youth who have graduated from primary school cannot read a single sentence. Basic education is currently underfunded by 26 billion a year, while aid is continuing to decline. At this stage, governments simply cannot afford to reduce investment in education, nor should donors step back from the funding promises. This calls for exploring new ways to fund urgent needs. Government must step up efforts to recruit an additional 1.6 million teachers to achieve universal primary education by 2015. Many countries are not ensuring that the children achieve even the most basic skills in reading and mathematics. The disadvantaged are the most likely to suffer because of insufficient number of trained teachers, overstretched infrastructure, and inadequate material. Yet it is possible for countries to extend access to school while also improving teacher training and learning. Move forward. What can we do about that? I started by saying that EFA is still valid. The validity of EFA goals rely on the recognition that education is fundamental to progress and prosperity, both socially and economically. Access to quality education, which is a basic human right in the UN's Declaration of Human Rights and the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, is a compromise and a strategic investment to peace, security, growth, and sustainable development. Perhaps above all, there is the need to recognize that teachers be respected as professionals and need to acquire the skills and aptitude that foster their sense of professional identity, the commitment, responsibility, and accountability that earn respect within their schools and communities as the key to improving quality. For me, this is the most important above all. Just finish and then we can take the questions. I make this statement about the human mind and a strong leadership made possible all development achievement from the social, cultural, and to the economic growth. For developing countries to maximize this benefit, they need to unleash the potential of the human mind and spirit. And there is no better way to do it, or better tool to do it, than education. And here, I think something that I would like to remark is the possibility of the South-South cooperation. Normally we have this North-South, but it's also good to have, the colleagues from the same area to share the best practices, to share innovation, to have this communication. I would like to use, finally, the thinking of Nelson Mandela, which I found is in the Minister of Education in Botswana, in the entrance of the ministry, which says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Lastly, I'm using a saying in Africa: if you want to go quickly, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. I invite all of you to join and go together to ensure the right to quality education to all children, youth and adults, and peace and prosperity. Thank you very much. Now is the time for questions. If there is any question, any clarification, yes, please. How to do this?
تحبوا ناخد واحد ولا ان احنا ناخد الاسئله مره واحده؟
كله يسال مره واحده.
كله يسال طب الاول يعني المشروع
المحاضرة مكتوبة. محاضرة مكتوبة. محاضرة مكتوبة.
في حد يا جماعه قاعد يعمل حاجه بالعربي
يعني
ما متهيألي
هل هناك حاجه
المحاضرة مكتوبة.
طيب عموما المحاضره برضه في نسخه منها مكتوبه. هنبدا الاسئله ونجمعها
Is it okay to ask them?
طب
اللي عايز يسال عشان نكتب.
أنا سارة حليم معيدة في قسم التربية الخاصة كلية التربية جامعة عين شمس. سؤالي بخصوص ال EFA. Is it just a theory? Because talking about unleashing the mind and the talent of the teachers and getting them to be skilled and qualified, trained, are there any programs to be applied with teachers and the Ministry of Education to help ensure skillful and qualified teachers? Or is it just theory because of the of the goals, I feel that it's kind of a theory. Are there any applications program to be applied for the university staff and the ministry?
شكرا. ماذا أيضا؟ دكتورة نعيمة. دكتورة نعيمة.
Thank you for good knowledge and welcome in Egypt. I hope how learning make a peaceful environment for children and women in society. About curriculum and or teachers, from your experience in your work in UNICEF or working in Africa and switch. Thank you.
شكرا دكتورة نعيمة. تفضل بسرعة.
Thank you very much for this lecture. I really appreciate your effort. I have two questions. First, you talked about Cuba as a case. Something I misunderstood. Maybe I'm mistaken. You said the commitment to the benefit of the children. Okay? So I didn't understand this idea. And the motivation and the leadership. Okay? So you said that Cuba is a poor country, right? As I understood. Yet they give interest to the teaching, right? I didn't understand the commitment to the benefit of the children. This was ambiguous to my understanding. The second question, you talked about new ways to fund education. Funding is very important, and I seek to know your opinion concerning this as an expert, concerning the new ways to fund education, especially as an expert. Thank you very much.
شكرا.
طيب يعني ممكن اقترح من مصر لو حد حابب يقول سؤاله كمان بالعربي يعني بالانجليزي حتى